Lesson 2, Part 2, the Abolitionist Movement. Lesson 2, Part 2, the Abolitionist Movement. How did racial tension and the abolitionist movement lead to sectionalism? Here's our standard. Once again, it's 8.4.2. Analyze how sectionalism arose from racial tension, including the Denmark-Vesey plot, slave codes, and the growth of the abolitionist movement. The first thing we did in class is we looked at 6 different primary documents dealing with slavery. 3 of them were pro-slavery and 3 of them were anti-slavery. You and your partner had time to examine one document, and you created a primary document analysis sheet for that one document. And then we got together as a class and discussed our findings. One thing that we were looking for was what viewpoint was expressed in that document and what reasons does the document give us to support the viewpoint. If you look below, it says this is what the chart should look like. Sometimes in class we say observe instead of what I see, but that's what observe means. The middle column is the reflect, or what I think I see, and then the third column are the unanswered questions. Now that I've looked at this document, what do I still wonder about my document? Following the examination of those 6 documents, we completed a chart in class where you told me pro-slavery arguments and anti-slavery arguments. And this is what one class came up with, I guess 6th period. And you can see that there were many reasons why people believed the way they did about slavery. And you will find that the stronger people feel about their viewpoint, the less likely they are to be won over by the other side, which was the whole problem with the slavery issue. So by definition, an abolitionist is someone who wants to end slavery. The goal of the abolitionist movement was to get slavery outlawed, to end slavery legally throughout the United States. And you know that most abolitionists did live in the North, but there were some abolitionists that lived in the South, and likewise everyone who lived in the North was not an abolitionist. The 4 well-known abolitionists that you are responsible for knowing are Harriet Tubman, who was a leader in the Underground Railroad, Harriet Beecher Stowe, who was the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin, William Lloyd Garrison from Boston, who was the author of the anti-slavery newsletter called The Liberator, and Sarah and Angelina Grimke, who were 2 South Carolinians who lived amongst slave owners and were very upset about the existence of slavery. We studied this lesson by watching some videos on these 4 different people, and we watched a video on the Underground Railroad, on Harriet Stowe, and then we watched from pbs.org a video on William Lloyd Garrison and the Grimke sisters, which you can also watch at pbs.org. If you will search for the episode called The Abolitionist, you will see 2-hour-long programs that are very interesting. Then we talked about how Uncle Tom's Cabin and Underground Railroad increased sectionalism, and you told me why the South hated these 2 things and why the North came to believe that they were good, and there are your answers on the screen. William Lloyd Garrison was a speaker against slavery and also the author of The Liberator. Here is the heading for his newspaper. I do want you to know that not all Northerners agreed with the abolitionist movement, and we talked in class about the fact that mill owners who are making their money off of turning cotton into cloth would have turned a blind eye to slavery, because slavery, they knew, was increasing the production of cotton, which was also helping pad their pocketbooks with lots of money. Garrison's Liberator newspaper was so outspoken that postmasters across the country actually, when it arrived in their post offices, would take it out. They removed it from the mail and called it inflammatory. And we talked about whether it was right for them to do that or not. And then we ended the lesson talking about Sarah and Angelina Grimke, who were very effective as abolitionists because they were from South Carolina. Most abolitionists had never lived in the South, didn't see slavery firsthand. These two young ladies were born with every opportunity into a very wealthy home in Charleston, but they came to believe that slavery was wrong, and they actually were forced to leave South Carolina and move north because their family didn't want to listen to their viewpoints about slavery. That is the end of Lesson 2, and we will move on into Lesson 3 on Monday, January the 14th.